Westchester, New York, and we really didn't have anything like that where I live. So I said, let I think I would do really well up here with something like that. When I was back in college, I had friends I used to go visit up in the CIA, um, at the school there. I got in touch with them. I hired two CIA chefs. We patented 15 core cookie recipes, and we opened up Cookies and Cream 7 months later. And that's how Cookies and Cream was started.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, with a homemade small batch ice cream company that I purchased as well, and a cereal infused bar. So that's what Cookies and Cream really is, our concept. And with that being said, we really became very, very popular, a staple in the community. A year later, we opened up a second store in the first national outdoor shopping center in the country. And a lot of our customers were asking about franchising. And at that point, that's when I thought, this is the right move to make. And the timing was right. Cookies is really a hot market right now. It's all the buzz right now. And
Mhm.
we have a really good product. And I think that, it could do well for a lot of different markets.
Yep.
And, you
I
know,
agree. I agree. So first of all, I look, cookies have always been around. They're here now. They'll always be around.
mhm.
I don't think cookies, for example, is like a fad. I think there's a certain enhanced and re-interest right now in cookies
Correct.
because people have taken sort of the basic run-of-the-mill cookie and they've like elevated it to the level that you've elevated it. By the way,
Correct.
for those of you who do not know what CIA is, we're not talking about the Central Intelligence Agency, talking about the Culinary Institute of America. So
Correct.
it's one of the foremost culinary schools in the United States, maybe in the
Mhm.
world.
Correct.
So I think that is impressive
Mhm.
that these aren't recipes that, maybe come from your kitchen or no disrespect to grandma
Right.
cookies, but
Right.
these are cookies that are developed by some of
Right.
the chefs that come from the world's greatest culinary school.
Right.
I think
Right.
that's tremendous. The yogurt shop, I think, again, I love the idea. You didn't like the yogurt shop, so hey, I'm going to open my own.
Correct.
You
Right.
saw these great cookies, um, you know, being sold, in maybe in neighboring Manhattan or wherever it was. You said, wow,
Mhm.
great idea. I'm going to do this here.
Mhm.
So this is sort of the mind of an entrepreneur. This is
Right.
what I tell folks constantly in franchising, by the way.
Mhm.
Why? And I don't mean this with any disrespect, but entrepreneurs typically don't make great franchisees. Now, I will say you're sort of an anomaly in that respect because you're a great 1-800-Flowers.com franchisee,
Mhm.
but you're an entrepreneur. So why do I say
Correct.
that?
Right.
Entrepreneurs tend to want to invent and create, and franchisees really should simply follow the system.
Right.
It's been invented and created by the founder. So
Mhm.
I guess to get to our question, um, the journey was real,
Oh yeah.
obviously,
Mhm.
and the success is real.
Mhm.
I can tell you, working with you, we have interest in folks who want to open the cookies and cream. Obviously, we have to vet them out, make sure they're all the right people. Um,
Yeah.
what were what was some of the exciting upside, like fun things about creating this concept and launching it as a
Sure.
franchise? And what were
Sure.
some of the frustrating things, or maybe things because you hadn't been a franchise or things you didn't really know about? So what kind of the pros and the cons?
Sure. Well, as you can imagine, working with two talented CIA chefs and creating, starting to create 15 cookies and tasting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cookies when you have a sweet tooth being an Italian boy, and you love sweets, that's, a dream come true. So that was a real fun part of the job.
Yeah.
I gained 30 pounds in a couple of months.
Uh-huh.
with that being said, that was a real fun aspect of the job,
Yeah, I would think so.
One of
I
the
would think so.
yeah,
Did
that was
you
a
wait? Let me
real.
just ask you, did you like stay up at night and like think about, oh, what about if we did, I don't know, marshmallows and peanut butter, like a
Oh,
fluffernutter
definitely,
thing, and then
sure.
you would go to them and say, hey, what did you do that?
Of course, I drove them. I drove them literally crazy. Absolutely, definitely, definitely, absolutely, absolutely. Yep. One of the not too much fun things is becoming a franchisor. There's a lot of legal stuff on the back end that you don't realize with the state of New York, with all different state legalities and attorneys and things that you really don't realize how technical things are run. And I had no idea, how detailed everything has to be. So you really need the right people behind you and the right attorneys and the right team. So that stuff is very challenging.
Yeah.
That's not really the fun part of it. The legal stuff, I should say, that I had
Yeah.
no knowledge of.
And that's interesting that you say that because one of the things that we often tell our clients, who we do franchise development. We didn't do cookies and cream, but we do franchise development as well as franchise sales and bringing people in. But one of the things we tell folks who are thinking about turning their business into a franchise is that, hey, you might be really good at making pizza, or you might be a really good painter or whatever, and you might know that business. But when you sort of cross that bridge to become a franchisor, that's a whole different business.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, yes, on one hand, you're in the cookie business, but on the other hand, you're sort of in the cookie system business now. You're selling a system, not cookies.
Correct.
And certain aspects of that system is what you had to work out. So in sort of working it all out, and I've been in your shop in Bronxville, New York, so I have a good visual of it. But how did you decide on like what would it look like, and like how did that all happen? Did you have a designer? Did that come from your head? Is it,
Well,
you know
being being a florist, and one of my talents is I have an aesthetic. I'm naturally gifted, so I don't need that. I'm naturally I'm a designer, so
right?
I was able to pick out all the design myself, the elements myself. I had a vision of what I wanted the store to look like. I had a concept already. I sat down with my architect. We mapped it out, color wise, scheme wise. So I was lucky in that aspect of it. So I had it in my head on what I
Yeah,
wanted the place to
and
be.
that is a trait that we find, and I've been working with entrepreneurs for years and years, and um, there are several things that are somewhat common to entrepreneurs, but one of the things that sort of is the thread that sort of runs through virtually every entrepreneur I've spoken with, and myself, I consider myself as an entrepreneur, is we tend to see it almost finished before
Hmm.
it ever really lived. We see it finished in our head before
Right.
it ever really lives in the real world.
Sure. Sure.
And so the challenge I know that I have sometimes, and I'm going to ask you this part of this question is, so what challenges did you have taking what was in your head and putting it into the real world? Were there people who said, oh, you can't do that, or don't do that way, or why don't you just copy so and so? Like,
Well, yes. Well, right. Right. Well, there's certain things I wanted to have certain tile in an area, and it wasn't allowed from the Board of Health. So there's certain code violations that you can't do because you have to follow a certain. You have to follow. So that's a challenge. There's certain areas that you're not allowed to use certain things because you're working in a kitchen. And You can't make it. You can't make it that. You have that because it has to meet codes. So that's a challenge. But we worked around it. We got it to look the way I want it, but we just have to use a different type of material.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was one of the things.
I could see. I mean, and the shop is beautiful, and
You know,
it does evoke, if and we've never talked about this, so it's kind of interesting. It evokes sort of
right.
this hometown, small like shop where you're going to come in. It's very It's very relaxing. It's a very chill kind of place. So you
Yeah.
can sit
Yeah, I
there.
just want to give it a home time, little cool, hip little vibe, and just a hangout place,
It's a very cool place. There's a little cafe table outside, so you could have a
Yeah.
coffee and a cookie, or an ice
Yeah.
cream and a cookie.
Hmm.
So I believe that you achieved that. When you talk about you had to work within the confines of the health department and the building department, everything else. I I tell folks sometimes it's like I'm going to ask you to paint me a painting, but I'm only going to give you three colors. And now you can only work with three colors, but paint me this beautiful painting. So
Right.
you have to kind of mix things around and make it
Yes.
work. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I hear you. So, when you opened Cookies and Cream, like what was it like an immediate success? Were there lines out the door, people lined up, or was it the type of
Right.
thing where you
Right.
opened because you said it was during COVID? So
Right. Yeah.
I
Right.
would I would tell
We,
you I know ice cream places did great during COVID, kind of in a comfort food, but launching a brand new business when people couldn't go out, what was that? Like, weren't
yeah.
you afraid?
Yeah. Yeah. I opened in June 8th. The lockdown was in March. So we opened March, April, May, June, 3 months after the lockdown. And
Hmm.
I have to say that the day I put the key in the door, the day I had a line out the door, it was gangbusters the day I opened up, and I never looked back. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just a buzz. I mean, very fortunate. I mean, I just picked the right. I was very lucky. I'm in the right town. I'm in the right space. I'm on the right block. We just in. It's just a great location. You know. Um. Yeah. It's just been a home run from day
Yeah,
one.
and you use the word luck, and again, I hear that word a lot from entrepreneurs who generally tend to be on either one of two extremes. They're either outrageous egomaniacs, or they're
Right.
like you, where they're very humble and they use the word
Mm-hmm.
luck. Yeah,
Right.
maybe, but
Right.
look, let's face it. You had the experience. You knew what's going to make up a great
Mm-hmm.
location. Where do
Right.
you want to be? Who's going to be your buyer? Um,
Right.
I mean, this is not a $2 bag of Chips Ahoy. These are,
No.
gourmet
Yes.
cookies that have a
They are.
price tag.
Right.
So obviously you had to
Yes.
research that
Yep.
and understand that piece. Talk to me about getting the word out, as an entrepreneur, launching a franchise, launching a new company. How did you get the initial word out, and how do you get the word out today?
Okay. Just going back, what on just to go back before, just to answer one thing that you
Sure.
said before. I never take anything for granted in life. Even though you have a great product, you work really hard. You know, you never take anything for granted. I count my blessings every day, because you can never be self-assured. You
Mm-hmm.
just always have to be appreciative and be thankful, for your success and your achievements.
Yep.
I always am very humbled at the end of the day. That's just me. But now, getting back to now, which you had said. Now, I'm sorry. What was the question,
Well,
Gary?
I'm curious about, like, how do you advertise? Like, do you do social media? Do how do you advertise the shop? Because it is a unique shop. It's ice cream, and it's kind of like a bakery and an ice cream
Right.
shop all
Sure.
kind of
Sure.
rolled into one.
Sure. 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 So, yes, we do social media. I'm big on social media, TikTok, Instagram. Uber also has been a very big, strong presence for us. We're very fortunate to have a huge platform on Uber, and it's brought in us a tremendous amount of
Mhm.
customers. I give an incentive if the customer comes into us, a little extra something for them to come in, just see our location. And I can't tell you how many people it's brought into
So
the doors.
yeah, so let me just jump in. So I get the Uber thing if I'm ordering dinner.
Hmm.
Uh, but I want to understand. So if I feel like having an ice cream and a box of, 4 or 5 cookies or whatever, I have friends over. Are you telling me that people are going on to the Uber platform and they're ordering cookies to be delivered?
I can't tell you how much Uber I do in yes.
I
Yes, I am one of the biggest Uber stores in Westchester. When I tell you Uber, we do a phenomenal business on Uber. Yes,
Unbelievable.
very good. Yes,
Unbelievable. So I get, wow. So our society has gotten to the point that we just have cookies sent to us as well as everything else from like Amazon and
absolutely.
Uber Eats. So let me ask this question, because I guess they don't deliver them so far away, right? Because part of your concept is, and I guess when you get
Yes,
stuff delivered at home, when I get food delivered at home, my expectation is a little bit lower because I understand. But part of your concept is the cookies are served warm. I remember
yes.
when I
You're
went
getting a
there the
nice
first
warm.
time, the
Yes,
cookies were warm. How
correct,
do they
correct,
get to the homeowner still a little bit warm? Like, how does that work?
correct. Well, when the Uber driver is picking them up, they're packaging them in, if you would, so to speak, is if the driver was packaging them, if they're picking up at a pizza restaurant
Oh,
and they're
so
put
there's a hot bag, so it goes
correct,
into like a
cor-
thermal bag.
correct.
Very cool.
Our cookie boxes will go in a thermal bag. Not our ice cream, obviously. That will go into the cool pack bag, because we don't want the ice
Unbelievable.
to get melted. So we have two different type bags that they'll use for us, because we want both of our products coming in the right temperature to the customer. Yeah,
Of course, yeah, and again, that's a big part of your concept because on another occasion when I was there, I got ice cream and cookies, and I got
correct,
one of the concoctions where the cookie it was kind of like an ice cream sundae, but there was a cookie on the bottom and then
right,
the ice cream on top, and of course, the warm cookie, the ice cream was melting.
correct.
I mean, it was absolutely out of sight.
Yeah,
It was it was completely
yes,
it was completely delicious. So, those sorts of things to me are what make the concept, your concept in particular, unique. So when I look at, and again, no names named, but when I look at other quote cookie concepts, and I see them all the time. I was at a private equity for meeting, I don't know, about a month or so ago, and there was a founder of a cookie concept and they had sold, I don't know how many hundreds of franchises and only had a few open. And I thought, oh my Lord, how are you going to catch up with this? But what was your thinking about combining the two? Did you think that ice cream maybe was too limiting and cookies was too, like, what was your thinking to put the two together?
well, I always went back to how I like to eat, and how I like to eat is how I like to sell things. I love cookies and I love it. So that's how I want to sell it to you. I always like to tell my customer how I want to eat something is how I want to sell it to you. And one of my most popular things on the menu is a cookie served with ice cream. And that's what we sell. And
Yeah.
that's how that's one of my top selling items. So that's what my concept was, and
Yeah.
hence cookies and cream. I mean, so that's what.
Well, to bring it to life is really for me what, I absolutely love about entrepreneurial sort of endeavors and about franchising, to like take what's in your head and turn it into something in the real world. The other piece to it, and again, I had never seen this before, and again, this is why I have you on and why I'm asking you these questions. A piece that I had never seen was the cereal mix-ins. Now I go to I'm an ice cream, I'm a would it be an ice creamaholic? I guess it would be the term. And I had seen like the mix-in things, but a lot of that's pretty common, blah, blah, blah. You have something unique. Tell us about your mix-ins, because I've never seen that before, but I did see scores of customers in your store one afternoon, like ordering it. Tell
Right,
us
sure.
about that. Tell the audience about that.
Sure. So we have a cereal bar, and we have about 35 to 40 different cereals, from your most iconic Fruity Pebbles to Lucky Charms, to Cocoa Pebbles, so all your favorite cereals. A customer, believe it or not, they buy it with just in a bowl with milk. Most of the times they're going to buy it and they're going to infuse it with their favorite flavor ice cream, which I always tell them, get vanilla. because you want the ice cream to taste like your cereal. So they're going to pick out their ice cream, they're going to pick out their cereal, and we have a special swirly machine that infuses the ice cream and the cereal together, and it incorporates both, and it makes the hard ice cream that we have into soft serve frozen ice cream cereal, and everything gets incorporated in.
It is outrageous. I have to say, folks, I didn't try it, but
Mhm.
that's for the next time because I when I go there, trust me, Joe, I could eat like 4 servings of whatever. I don't
Right.
because I don't want to look like the pig that I am when it comes to ice cream. But
I,
I will tell you that I saw people with things like I don't know, like peanut, I don't know, peanut cocoa pops or cocoa
yeah,
pops in vanilla
yeah.
ice cream in it. And
Oh
it
yeah.
wasn't, it wasn't like they were just mixed in like chocolate chips in a cookie. It
Oh,
was actually infused, but
oh,
I noticed that it still had texture. So
correct.
it wasn't like
Correct.
they melted
Yeah,
into the ice cream. So
correct.
that to me is a completely unique product that I don't know, you could build a concept around that.
Yep.
Look, there's so much more that we could talk about here, but just to sort of stay on our topic about entrepreneurial wisdom, if you will, or trials and tribulations of launching a franchise, is there any are there any last words or any last thought you could give us? Like if someone's thinking about launching a franchise company, they have a concept, I don't know, maybe they own a pizza shop or maybe they own a florist or whatever.
Sure.
What's like the couple of things or one thing, whatever, that you would say,
Sure.
hey, this is what I want to leave you with, what you should be thinking about.
Sure. Obviously, there's a lot of different companies out there on the market. I would really suggest doing your due diligence, making sure you really pick the right company that's going to guide you in the right direction. Um, Unfortunately, when I started, I didn't have the best company I chose to get me where I am today. Luckily, I feel like I'm in better hands right now. I have Gary, you know, and I'm really happy with his team and his company guiding me right now in the right direction. But starting out, you really have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, get yourself in the right hands. And I just leave you with that. Just, make sure of that. Anyone that has any questions, you guys can reach me at cookiesandcreambronxville@gmail.com. And it was a pleasure, talking to you here today.
Great. No, the pleasure was mine, and thanks for the endorsement and the little testimonial.
Bye.
Uh, we appreciate that. I will tell you that the concept is unique. It's proven out. The numbers are there. It's a relatively low cost of entry. It's a simple build out. I don't want to make this a commercial for cookies and cream, but since you're my client and this is my podcast, I will. Uh, if you're interested in learning about it, you can hit our website, you can hit Joe's website, and we'll be happy to speak with you. But more importantly, Joe, I appreciate the time that you took today to speak to me and to really tell the audience, sort of the salt of the earth story about how you start a company, how you start a franchise. Because for so many people, it's this lofty endeavor that they think only starts like, I don't know, in some big office building in Manhattan. But in your case, and in most cases, it actually starts with an idea and a desire and a need, all of which you found and you saw and you addressed. So I can't thank you enough for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate your time. Thank you.